Welcome to Shweiki Media Tutorials. Today we'll be creating a custom template in InDesign CC 2017. If you have an older version of InDesign, do not worry. CS6, CS5, or Creative Cloud, setting up a document is about the same. So just follow the steps that we have today and you should be fine. So to first open up our InDesign document, we're going to go down to here, Finder, which is a big smiley face if you're on a Mac. We're going to go to Applications, and we're going to open up InDesign in our Finder. The first step, we're going to go up to the top toolbar, which is right up here, and we're going to go to File. We're going to go to New. We're going to slide over and open up Document. There should be a pop-up window that comes up right here that says New Document at the top. We're going to select Preview here at the bottom left, just so we can see exactly what's happening behind us. As far as intent, we'll be using print. We can talk about web and mobile a little bit later, but for today's purposes, we'll be doing print. So select Print here. We're going to be creating a postcard today. So our pages will be one page. We're just going to do a one-sided postcard. So right here, we're just going to select one page. But when you're talking to your printing professional, make sure to ask how many pages you're going to need so you can make this change right here. And just as a side note, if you are going to be doing a magazine and you're thinking about how many pages you're going to put together for that, make sure you're doing it in increments of 4. That's how the magazine will be put together. So you can do a 4-page magazine, an 8-page magazine, a 32-page magazine, as you can see, just as long as they're increments of 4. For our purposes, facing pages won't make a big difference, but when you're creating a magazine or a brochure, it will. So just as a point of habit, always select facing pages here. Your start page, 99% of the time, your start page will be 1. So your first page will be page 1. There are some times when that will not happen, but for our purposes and for, I would say 99% of the times that you need, it'll be page 1. Okay? Now right here, page size. Now you can either do, two options. You can just change the page size right here in width and height, or you can create a mini template for your page size. So we're going to create a little mini template. And this will help so that you, whenever you come back, let's say you're doing a lot of 4x6 postcards, you don't have to continually type in 4 inches wide by 6 inches tall, which seems like it wouldn't be that much right now, but if you're creating a lot and you're going at a fast speed, 10 or 15 seconds does save a lot of time when it adds up. So we'll go down here to Custom, and as you can see, we'll get another little pop-up box here. So we're going to say Postcard. We're going to name it. So we're going to name it Postcard 4x6. And it always helps just to give the dimensions along with the name because you size postcard. So we're going to give it a little title here. And now we're going to go into here, and we're going to do a width is 4 inches. And we're going to go down here as height as 6 inches. Okay. And once we have those two numbers in here, we can go down to Add. And you can see down here it populates postcard 4x6. So we'll select that and say OK. And as you can see, it auto-populates here. So we have our page size is a postcard 4 inches by 6 inches. And you can double check right here that our width is 4 inches wide and our height is 6 inches. Okay. Now if I can move this pop-up screen a little bit over. Columns does not have any effect on the actual printing process, but it does help you organize your text and your images during the printing process. So you can come in here and you can change it. So you can see that I have 7 columns, I have 8 columns. I can have as little as 1 column. So looks like I have no columns in here. For this, we'll do 3 columns. It's a little bit smaller of a document size, so we'll keep it we'll keep it pretty small. And so you can see these big areas right here, that's your columns. Now your gutter, this inside the columns, we'll put this down to 1/8 of an inch. So just so when you have text in here, if you're separating it out by your text, you can have it in here and you can have a little bit of a separation just to keep your columns nice and clean. But like I said, this has no effect on the printing process. You can have as many or as little, as big of a gutter or as small of a gutter as you want. This is just for your own purposes when you're designing and creating a postcard or a magazine or a brochure. What does come into play is your margins and your bleed. So if you've been talking to your printing professional, more than likely they've already talked to you about that your bleed has to be 1/4 of an inch and your margin has to be 1/4 of an inch. So let me go through and kind of explain this to you. This black line that sits in the middle of both lines is your postcard. So that's your 4 inches wide by 6 inches tall. Okay? This will be your final document size. What happens is that everything on here will be printed. So all the way out to this red line will be printed on a flat sheet of paper with probably multiples of this postcard, depending on how many you're printing. When the card is about to be finalized, it will be cut down to this black line. So all this space right here, all this out to this red line will be cut. Now the margin is the purple line that sits in here. And your colors may be a little different, but just know that this inside line right here will be your margin. And your margin needs to be 1/4 of an inch inside of this black line. And we see that here on our pop-up screen, right? 1/4 of an inch inside, outside, bottom, top. And this gives the printer a little bit of wiggle room. So if the printer, when he goes to cut, if he cuts a little bit narrow, he doesn't cut off any of your text or any of your important information. And if he cuts a little bit wide, and your bleed is set at your standard, which should be at 1/4 of an inch here, then it won't, if you have an image stretched to the outside and it cuts it, that way you don't have any little white space if it cuts a little narrow or it cuts a little wide. So this is for our purposes, and you need to have these set in here. So make sure to have 1/4 of an inch in on the margin and then 1/4 of an inch on the bleed. Okay? Now the only thing that can change here is that your margin can be bigger. So as long as my margin is at least at a minimum of 1/4 of an inch here, I'll be fine. But for design purposes, if I want to bring this in to, let's say, 1/2 an inch, I can do that. And so all my text will sit in here and give a little bit more breathing room on the outside, but that's a design choice. All we're asking for when we're, as far as the print, is that you at least have 1/4 of an inch margin here. Okay? Now, since we have everything saved for a postcard at 4 inches by 6 inches, we're going to create a preset. So that way, when you come back to here, you don't have to fill out all this information or watch this video again. All you need to do is you can go down and you can click your document preset. So let's go here to this Save Document Preset, which is on the right-hand side of your document preset. We're going to open that up, and we're going to name this Postcard, and we're going to give the dimensions just to give ourselves a little bit of knowledge. So Postcard 4x6, and click OK. And then when we click OK here, you have your template all set up. Now, if I was going to go and I was going to open up a new document, and I wanted to do the same thing. I want to do another Postcard 4x6 for Shweiki Media. I didn't want to write all this information out. Don't worry, because we've saved this. So go to Document Preset, right up here, the drop-down menu, and you can go right here to our saved document preset, which is Postcard 4x6. Now watch as everything changes. See? Everything has changed. Now we have our width is 4x6, which is perfect. We have what we had saved last time, which is our columns at 3. We have our margins and our bleed at our specified distance, which is 1/4 of an inch. We're all set up. So if you ever need to come back, you can just go here and you can pick out your already predefined document preset. Remember, everything you need is right there. So just finding out what your new sizes are, what your page sizes are, everything like that will come from your printing professional, but now you know exactly where they go and what the minimums required are for printing, especially with Shweiki Media. So if you need anything else, please write it in the comments and we'll try to relay the information that we can, but you're all set up to go and everything looks great. Thank you guys for staying with us for this Shweiki Media tutorial, and we'll be back soon with more. Thank you.